Yes, sir. Happy to finally get connected. Prince George, you're a film actor, television actor, rapper, artist, spokesperson. You grew up in LA, California to be precise, and you got your start when you were 14.
Yep.
Started a group, and you studied film and media, Concourse, Adelphia. Quite the resume, I must say. Quite the resume.
Oh, thanks.
And you've been busy, man. You've been busy. You've done so much. I commend you on the clearly you've been sharpening your artistry for a long time. Your craft in a sense. It's a beautiful thing to see, somebody of your stature and still, I would imagine, still loving it, still enjoying it. And it's still
I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it for nothing in the world, to be honest.
That's all we can ask for at the end of the day, to be blessed like that. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, but again, thanks so much for coming through. Okay, let me start off. I have a quote. I always have a quote. It goes like this: From the all spark to the dark, in the back of the closet, there you find the universe parked. Compound conundrum, like fighting a war to find peace. Looking for the reason where we have peace again, just to lay my head in war. Cyclical disposition got me on a mission to find more of the passion within. So I look around and observe who's watching before I turn within. Breaking down the last of my DNA if it means I can get an upgrade to transcend the skies, thus I no longer need wings. Yes, just wanted to, this is what I had to...
That's some bars right there, bro. Like, that's some bars. Like... Where'd you get that? Where'd you get that from? What was that? And where'd you get it from?
Oh, this was it's just a quote from something I wrote. I'm a writer, so I write all the time, so I always have something.
Yeah, but I'm saying that was some bars right there, bro. Like you was spitting like something like ministry bars. I'm like, yo, what the hell? Like,
yeah, man. Thank you. I take it serious, and it's one of those things where it comes from a deep place. So I always try to kind of, make sure every word, every sentence matter. So, it might get a bit compound sometimes, but for the most part, I try to keep it true, I try not to take it too far where I'm like, it's like I'm a rapper, because that's not who I'm trying to be,
But you know what?
I'm really about this.
Sometimes life sometimes is a song, bro. Like, but what I'm saying, the way you spit that, bro, like the lyrics and the way you deliver it, it's like bars, bro. Like, yo, it made me like, wait, what?
Well, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Seeing things from someone as accomplished as yourself, where would you say was the genesis, in a sense, to whom we know you to be right now?
Art. I mean, I always said from small, when your parents always ask you what you want to be when you grow up, right?
Yeah.
I always said I want to be a comic book artist or an artist of some sort. And as I grew, I was like, hey, they're like, what you want to do? I'm like, I want to do commercial art somewhere. Or I want to do art. I want to see my name in lights. I don't know. Like, I want to revolve around art, but I want to see my name in lights.
Yes.
And so, like, over the years, it just grew. Like, it just grew, and different life experiences is stuck with me and never left, and it just made me more. I would tell most people, like, some people get discouraged. But you can be, when you're happy, you always want to do something. Always want to. You can attack stuff when you're happy, when everything's calm. when you have money, all that stuff, people want to attack stuff and do stuff, right? But everything, I could say when I had money, didn't have money, everything, I still did the same thing every day, continuously, every day. Whether if it was a one word, one line, one paragraph, whatever, I always did shit every day. And it was like, okay, well, you know what? It's gonna get done. It's gonna get done at some point. Whatever I was working on, it was gonna get done. And people were like, why do you stick to it? I'm like, why not? Like, people can stick to a job, right?
Yes.
That's not their own. And somebody else's dream, right? You can be sick, you can be happy, sad, sick, it can be raining, it can be snowing, whatever the case is, right?
Yes.
You can stick to it every day to get a paycheck, right?
Very true.
And it's somebody else's dream, not yours, right? But yet, when it comes to your own dream, your own ambition, your own ideas, right?
Yeah.
We want to give up when it gets rainy, or if it gets snowy, if it get too sunny, right?
Yes.
And it doesn't necessarily mean the physical elements. It could be an element like just something in your life in general, right? And people want to give up and be like, no, I don't want to do it. And you're like, yeah, but you do it every day. You're faithful to somebody else's stuff every day. Like it's rainers, and you're there every day. So I take that analogy to what I do. I do it every day.
That's beautiful. You know, I relate to that so much. And man, there's so many things that come to mind. Like to begin with, you know, I can't remember who had this quote, but it's almost like, you go to a 9 to 5 and you work your butt off for somebody else. And then so you leave the 9 to 5 and you come and you don't do it for yourself in a sense. It's almost like, you're not tired, you're uninspired. Do you get what I mean? It's almost like, how can you work all these hours for somebody else, but you can't do it for yourself? But also, I think, at the end of the day, what we're speaking about, especially when it comes to the path, and I think that's where you're at in terms of like, this is your path, this is your journey, and this is something you take serious, about your life. I think it's almost like you would do this for free to begin with anyway. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like when you're committed as you are, it doesn't matter. It's not like, it doesn't take anything for you to kind of just be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do.
To be honest, it doesn't feel like work. It sometimes depends on who you're dealing with and who you're talking to, what your parts connect to, like in a sense. Like you know how podcast right now, right?
Yes.
I didn't learn doing a podcast from doing a podcast. I learned it from doing an actual radio show, at an actual radio station. And actually learning film from actually doing an actual show, improv every week, every day, every week, right?
Yes.
And so like, I did a show for 6 years on different stations around my city. Yes. And on the weekends, I did a radio show. And so like, you did it every day. You had to pay for it you have to pay for it. You have to get there. You have to do the radio show to pay for it every weekend, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, so it's kind of like, and you have to schedule those shows. You have to schedule dates that your shows air.
Yes.
Right. Whether you feel like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread or not, you have to air that show. But you can pull a show, but like, and not air it. But at some point, you're going to air that show at some point.
Yes.
And so you learn the fundamentals. Like if you notice in the bio, it says the King Show, right? What is the King Show?
Yeah. That's
the first show I've ever been a part of, like when I was 14 years old. And I didn't leave that show until I was 22.
Yeah.
22 years old, right? And I learned everything you can learn in production sitting there, and even on my own show.
Yes.
And so,
sorry, go on. What were you gonna say?
No.
I think to what you're saying, I guess where I'm coming from, in my experience, is almost like, as a writer myself, it's almost like I I come from the aspect of like, you know what, I get up, I'm having a bad day, I'm gonna write. Gonna be, if I'm having a great day, I'm a happy day, I'm gonna write. If I'm having a weird day, whatever it is, I'm still gonna just do it, you know, regardless of what the mood is. So that's
But
kind of
then it gives you character. It gives you a character. It gives you character as a person. But it also gives your music, whether if you do music or if you do scripts or do projects, right?
yes,
It adds a flair to it gives a flair to your characters too and stuff. Because you technically be like, okay, well, I need a bad guy. I have a bad guy for the story. And I'm like, okay, I'm pissed off today, or I for this story. And you kind of like, and you may write from a pissed off place,
yes,
but you may not be pissed. And you may just it may have you feel like the idea that stuff that you didn't understand before about a character. Like this character did this, and whatever the case is. If that makes any sense.
yes, it does. It does. Regardless, it's almost like, you know, you're coming from a place where it's almost like, oh man, I'm a person where it's almost like you're in a certain disposition at the moment, and so it's almost like you can kind of reflect that in your character. And it might be a matter of convenience where like, oh, I'm trying to create this character where it's almost like he's really dark, and it so happens I'm in a dark place, and so everything you paint is just kind of coincides with where you're trying to go and what you're trying to depict with in this world that you created with this character. And I think that's what you're speaking about. But yes, I agree. Sometimes I do have situations where it's just like I'm going through something and I'm just like, I'm in a bad place. But it's a matter of convenience. It so happens that where I am in terms of like the situation, it fits exactly where I'm trying to depict with this character that I'm gonna write.
Consider this. You can be pissed off and go off and do something stupid, right? And you can go off and be pissed off and go fight somebody. You can go off and drink. You can go off and smoke. You can go off and do something to go to jail or get shot by cops or whatever the case is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And being pissed off, you don't have to do none of that. You can sit in front of your computer or your notepad and your pen and stuff and get it out your system. But by the time you're written, whatever, you're fine again. You like people like, how did you? This is my therapy. You know how today's climate, people are like, I need therapy. Like, nah, you don't need. Well, you can talk to another person, but if you sit down with yourself and figure it out why you was happy or sad or angry, and wrote about it, half of the time, to be honest, if you spend time with not saying that people don't need a therapist, right? Some people do technically, but sometimes my therapy became my pen and pad.
Yeah.
And like became my therapist. Like, okay, great. Okay, this makes no damn sense to me, but okay, I'm going to write about it until until I feel like get it out of my system itself.
Yeah. Well, let's be honest. Like, in terms of what a therapist actually provides for you, you can kind of it's really just kind of almost being diagnosed, telling you what your issues are. But at the end of the day, it's still your decision to actually do something about it. And nobody knows you better than yourself. So really and truly, you could have done that by yourself. So whatever you're doing at the therapist is just a matter of convenience that maybe you can afford it, or maybe you just maybe you do actually need somebody to tell you. But for most time than not, I think a lot of people just want, it's just a matter of convenience. Just some people just want somebody to just kind of tell them, because I think, in my opinion, you can do it by yourself. But to what you said in terms of like being in that situation where I think it's a matter of discipline to an extent, where you can kind of churn that energy, and you can utilize it to kind of create something. You can put it into something profound, and you can make something just where it's almost like, oh man, I didn't see how this was going to turn into something so beautiful or something so great, because you took the time to kind of make that energy into something that you can kind of almost give back to the world through art or just writing in itself. I think there's something profound about that. But I think it comes from, you have to have the discipline to know that, no, we're not gonna go do something silly. And just like, take your time, collect yourself, go somewhere and really put this on paper, pour this on paper and be creative with it. A lot of times I go through that. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And yeah, it is therapy for me because of that. To what you just said as well, I would sit there and my thing is, you have to come from a place of honesty, you know, especially with poetry. You know, I think one of the rules for me is just like, you have to be honest. And so it's almost like you're constantly staring at yourself in the mirror and you just have to but it's just the fact that, you know what, you're so, you've kind of sharpened your craftsmanship so much that you're able to kind of literally just lay it out, and it just happened to be sounding like art. And it's humbling when somebody relates to it, you know. It's just, that's the best way I would put it. The other thing I would say is, out of everything you've done or what you're doing, what's the truest passion for you out of everything that you do, the many things that you do?
To be honest, everything, to be honest, because I can't say one thing specifically over another thing. Like, yes, I was born a comic book artist, but I think this somebody said it this way.
Yes.
We all have gifts, right? That we were born to technically do. And we gain talent along the way in the process, which is two different things.
Yes.
Right? And so, like, gifts are things you're God-given, you was born to use. But talent is something you learn along the way, right? Without those talents, your gifts sometimes use those talents that you learn along the way to bring your gifts to fruition.
Yes.
Right? So I think realistically for me, I love both of them, you know, because without one, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm technically doing currently. And to me, like, to be honest, it's funny. My initial goal was to be a comic book artist, naturally, right? Everything else came because I was true to my gift. And the biblical statement that said, use the little gifts I've given you, I'll give you more abundantly. If you don't use the gift I've given you, I'll take it away from you, right? So it's kind of like the idea of, okay, I'm using my gift and I'm practicing, I'm drawing, I'm drawing this, and I write little paragraphs. Or in a sense, before I started writing music, I started writing poetry. Like you, I started writing poetry before.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. You
all that poetry stuff became songs, and basically like the soundtrack to what I was going through at the moment, or what I want to do, or what I was trying to think about.
Yeah.
And all those paragraphs when I was younger became the stories that I'm telling you guys right now as stories. Right? And people start seeing it, like, okay, great, you can draw, great, cool, help me with this. And me, I was helping someone else. Like when I got the cable show itself, the TV show.
Yes.
I didn't go in there with the idea of getting a TV show. And it sounds crazy saying that, but I didn't go in there with the idea of going in and saying, you owe me a TV show, that I want to do a TV show. My initial thing was humble myself. I was in there, I was in the station at the time helping my mentor do a show at the time. And the studio was like, I had been around them since I was 14 years old. So when I was around them, hanging out with them in the studio.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, dude, blah, blah, blah. And help me with these props or whatever. And I was like, all right, cool, I got it. But I had asked him, I said, well, how much you charge me to advertise my company for me? He said, oh, come be faithful. And I was like, all right, cool, I can do that. I can do that. I can be there. I can be there when you need me there. Blah blah blah. Fine. And I did that. And one day we was doing a boxing show.
Yeah.
And was carrying a makeshift ring that we had built. He had built in the studio.
Yes.
And funny as it sounds, which one of the shows I'm going to launch on Amazon Prime, which you'll see, that same boxing show, the same boxing show that I became a producer from.
Yes.
I was hanging. That's the reason why it's a show that I'm going to launch. It's called. I was interviewing my mentor about a show called Moondoggy that he did, right?
Yeah.
And the show Moondoggy was technically my gateway into producing my show itself. And that particular show, I was carrying some props behind the scenes. You don't see it on screen, but behind the scenes, I was carrying some props into the studio to help my mentor. And he had told me, he said, "Whoa, don't hit the walls with the poles, because if you scratch it, I'm about to repaint it." He does signs and paint and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, cool. So he went into the studio to do whatever he was going to technically do.
Yes.
My crazy self actually hit the wall with the pole.
I did.
But as I pulled the pole away, it didn't scratch the wall. As I pulled the pole away, I got a tap on my shoulder. And I was like, yes. And the lady from the studio was like, "Hey, come and see me." And I was like, crap. I thought I was in trouble technically. And so I went to go put the poles down, and I went into the studio to put the poles down. My mister said, "What did you?" I said, "Oh, I gotta go see this lady, the lady." He said, "What did you do? Hit the poles with the wall?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be right back." And when I said, she goes, "I see what you do on your mentor show. I see all the stuff you do. You help how you create characters and how you think about what you're going to technically do and how you're going to technically do stuff." She says, "You know, you have a producer quality to you. You ever thought about doing your own show?" And I was like, "No, not really." She said, "Well, you should think about it." Okay, I'll think about it, and walked away and did the show.
Oh wow!
And
it just happened like that.
And it happened to me. It happened to me a couple times. And the third time it happened to me at a different studio.
Yeah.
I was like, "You gonna do this?" I'm like, "No." It was like, "You know what? You're going to. Here's the date to the orientation. Come and this hear us out." And I was like, "All right, man, whatever." And I went to the orientation, and I was the youngest person in the orientation. And I went in and was like, "I know that show. I know some of those shows. I've seen them." And I was like, "Of course you did." And from that day to this, I still produce. I still write.
Yeah. That's interesting. I think to what you're saying, I think it all comes down to a decision at the end of the day. In my mind anyway. What I mean by that is, once you decide what it is that you want in life, because I think that's the biggest obstacle most people have, where it's almost like you can't come to a decision, and so you know, it's almost like a ship without a destination. You know, you're just going around and you're not really setting a sail to anywhere particularly. But I think once you make that decision and you decide, okay, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm going to work towards, and you just, because obviously it's like you really love this, that's why you would, you know, decide to go on this path. I believe that's when things almost falls into place around you. Everything just kind of makes sense after that, to be honest with you. Now, it might not be a thing where like, you know, sometimes it might not be like oh man, a thinking, a cerebral thing, but it might just be in your mind, you know, you've kind of made your mind up, but you just haven't admitted it, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, but you know what? Sometimes people see what your gift is, although you may not see it. And trust me, I've been to a place where I didn't see my gift. I seen like the art part of my gift.
Yes.
And I played around with music, but it was kind of like, you know how when you art too, again, art was kind of one of those things that was a pastime. You know, when you hanging out, when you in class and you pass notes to your friends because you want to send it, or you want to hang out, or you want to talk to a girl and you pass notes in class, right? And it was kind of like one of those things. But me and a couple of buddies of mine, we're all artists. So instead of us just passing notes, this blank piece of paper with words on it,
Yes.
we draw a whole comic strip asking questions about like, hey, like math assignment, like the teacher give you a math assignment or gave you a science assignment or whatever the case is. And we're a whole comic strip and like, yo, I don't understand what that means.
Yeah.
And emphasizing certain aspects of whatever we didn't understand or whatever the case.
Yes.
Or being funny or whatever, just entertaining each other. And like we may be sitting next to each other, or we may have people like sitting in the middle of us, right?
Yeah.
So like say if it's another person sitting between us, we'll be passing notes to that person and say, hey, and this to this person. And the other person that's between us, or we'll sit there and read the comic strip and be sitting there cracking up laughing and hand it off. But we sitting there laughing their head off, like, yo, we like they like that's just funny. Like we were like, yeah. Like, and we got a reputation for doing it in all of our classes. All of the classes we were in, because we tend to be like, and it just grew from a passion. Like, okay, great. We know we have something here as art, as art is concerned. We have something here between us. We have something that we love. We love, and it just grew like every day.
Yes. I think I'm more speaking of like, because at the end of the day, even if somebody tells you, it's not really of substance, or it's not a decision until you decide it is. Do you get what I mean? So I guess maybe where I'm coming from is almost like, in essence, it all comes back down to you. Like, you've got to see it for yourself. You've got to see it for you as well. Even if somebody kind of helped you to kind of decide for yourself, I think, you know, it all comes back down to you in the end.
I mean, yes, you do, but it's kind of like the idea. Yeah, you have to make a decision, but then you have to live. The thing is, you have to live with that decision. It's one thing to make a decision, and it's another thing to live with it. Like, again, goes back to what I'm saying is that you can make a decision. Like today, you can make a decision to say, I'm gonna do a podcast.
Yes.
I'm gonna do an interview. Right? You get the idea to say, I'm gonna do an interview. You may be good at it. You may be technically be good at doing interviews.
Yes. But
today it may tend to start raining, or it may technically, but you gotta go travel to go do the interview with that person, right?
Yeah.
Or you may have to step out, you know, like travel a long distance to do it or something, right?
Yes.
So it's kind of like, yes, I want to do it. I'm good at it, but it's being committed to it. Like, damn, okay, I gotta get up. Like, I might have to get up 4 hours earlier than I really want to get up to be able to make it to that side of town. But I'm also gotta get up and make it to the side of town in rain, and get wet and be drenched and everything else.
Yes.
And some people are not. You can make a decision that you want to do something, but being committed to it is a whole different thing. Being committed to it is commitment. Commitment is a whole different thing. Like, okay, I can do it, but these are my parameters to technically do that particular thing that I want to technically. I'm saying I'm going to technically do. These are my parameters of today. Of today. Yes. So damn, do I really want to do it? It's not gonna. And then too, sometimes it may not benefit you to do that interview. It may benefit the other person to do the interview, but it may not benefit you particularly. So you got to sit there and listen to a person, like how you're listening to me ramble. It's kind of like one of those things. Like, damn, okay, I got to listen to him ramble about whatever, but to get a show itself.
I mean, to what you're saying, you're kind of making my point for me in a sense where it's almost like you've got to that's why this decision that we're speaking about is so important. You've got to want it for yourself. I think that's why it's so important that you want it for yourself first, because the commitment that's required and the journey that you're going to take, and obviously we know that this journey is not for the faint-hearted. It's not for people that, just want, probably easy, just be like, oh, easily give up to go work a 9 to 5 or something like that. You've got to really want it for yourself, and it's got to be something of substance for you, because at the end of the day, if it's not serious and you can't commit to it to that degree, I don't think it's going to work out. And I think that's why most people probably end up failing, because what you chose probably wasn't for you in the first place, or you didn't really love it in the first place, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, but you know what? A lot of people sell their gift or their time for money. It's not that it's not that they don't want it, but they put monetary value on certain aspects of what they're trying to technically do.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. And if that makes any sense. Like, you can, yes, everything takes money to technically do it at some point, but it's a time and place for everything.
True.
To sit down and write, it may cost you $2, $3, whatever, to buy a pen, to buy a pen and pad, right? Mm-hmm. To write, but sometimes if you already have a pen and pad, it don't take you nothing but time to technically sit down and jot it down. And most people think it takes way more money to it's better to be benefited from their time.
I mean,
if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. But to what you're saying, I think that speaks to the reasoning behind it, in terms of like, how honorable are your intentions, especially to yourself, because at the end of the day, it's almost like, I think not only do you want to choose the right path for yourself, but you also have to want it for the right reasons. And I think a lot of people, maybe it's just like a moral situation, a moral compass type of situation, where it's almost like you have love for yourself, and you know what you have, and you know your value. I think that's the biggest thing. You got to know your value, to know that I'm not just gonna just throw away what I have, or risk it in a sense, because now I might end up giving this away, or might give it away thinking I'm going to get it back, but you never do, because somebody owns your name, or somebody owns your brand, or something like that. So I think at the end of the day, obviously we know there's no manual to this thing. So obviously, and that's why I think it's so important, especially in certain aspects where people have like a mentor or some kind of coach to kind of almost guide them through the journey, like especially the initial part of it, where there's going to be certain aspects where it's going to be a rough terrain if you don't know what you're doing. And sometimes intuition you might get lucky with intuition, but sometimes you don't, and it takes a while to kind of get that steam back, to kind of get back your sail back in the right, to kind of stay steadfast and be successful.
Sometimes it takes the idea of not knowing that you don't know everything. Knowing that you don't know everything. See, the thing is, you can have a mentor and you have to know when to, like, yo, I love you, we good. You taught me this much, and I've learned this much. I have to walk away from you, not because you're a bad person, yes, but because I've learned enough from you to technically walk on my own. But yet the learning part doesn't stop, because you still got to teach it to yourself and know that you don't know something. And sometimes it means that you may have to go back to school to learn something, or you have to technically learn how to read, write, figure it out, and fall down a couple times, down a couple figurative staircases to learn some stuff and mess it all up, and then come back and be like, okay, I messed up here. Yeah. I see where I messed up here. I messed up this I messed this up right here. and taking ownership of that you're messed up, and that you messed up, or you didn't know something, right? Even when you feel like you did, yes. Right? Or realizing that this person may have this person that you're to may mean well to you, but they don't know exactly what you need, or you may not know what you need, and you may need that piece of knowledge they have for you, right? And sometimes humbling yourself, right? To realize, like I could say, like, when I left my mentor in my beginning of my 4th year of doing my business,
yes,
right? I had to do just that. I had to walk up with my mentor and say, hey, I think I got it. And realize I didn't have all the pieces. Although my mentor probably couldn't give me all the rest of the pieces, but I had to go learn those pieces and put together the right people to learn from, or read, or write, or sit down. Sometimes you can be too busy and not learn stuff because you're too busy. So sometimes you have to sit down and sit there and like, man, I don't know something, but I don't know what I don't know yet. Like, I know.
But let's speak to what you just said. You just said to know, to be aware of what you don't know, and accountability. Those are two things.
The Zoom is about to go out in like 3 minutes. Can you log back in with the same link and after we're done, so we can continue if you like?
Yeah, sure. Okay, no worries. But just to finish, accountability. To that point, I think that speaks to how important that wisdom that you might not have because you're too young at that point to be able to kind of make these decisions by yourself. And so with what you're saying, it's almost like, wouldn't it bode better for you to have a mentor? Because it sounds to me that if you had a mentor at that pivotal point that you're speaking about, I think you would be better off because of it.
Yes and no. Yes and no. And I say yes because maybe the mentor been through that road a little bit. But sometimes then you can get so codependent on your mentor, right?
Yes.
Because then if you went it on your own in certain aspects,
yes.
When you're in that situation on your own, when you finally decide to go on your own, right? You know how to get in and out of it. You know how to get in and out of it, and you appreciate it more. If that makes any sense.
Yes.
And I'm like, I learned this on my own, and I had to fumble to get it. I couldn't rely on this person's knowledge to do it, because when they're not next to me, it's kind of like I'm gonna still be fumbling in that area. If that makes any sense.
It does.
So kind of like,
it does.
You kind of gotta do it by yourself, kind of in certain aspects. Like, damn, like I just fumbled the crap out of it.
Okay, let's stick a pin in there. Let me just restart this Zoom, and then we continue this, because I'm enjoying myself.
Sure. You know what, brother? I appreciate you, because like your interviews are way different than what I'm used to, but I love it. Like yours still goes back to the experience part. Like the experience. Like a lot of people don't talk about the experience part to get to the point to saying, oh, I got a movie, or I got a comic book. I got this. That's great, but how did you get there? How did you get that far?
But to what you were saying, I think this is where I'm trying to get at. Now, you might be a person that's very capable or resourceful in a sense where like you might be able to figure it out, but the chances are there's a lot of things that you're gonna go through in terms of like stones down the road, etc. Why not just go with a path, or go with a method that you know actually works, or is more likely than not to work, as opposed to just
because sometimes because sometimes a mentor only brings you to a certain path, because you may have a mentor that's a mentor of certain aspects of skill set,
Yes.
right? Mm-hmm. And all the similar skill sets you have that make you guys mentor and protege.
Yes.
You guys can explore those together. Mm-hmm. But the things that separate you from each other is kind of the skill sets you may have that they don't have, or the skills they have and you don't have, right? That you may not need, separate you. So you only can go but so far how much of knowledge your mentor technically has in a certain area that you technically need, right?
Yes.
And so that means you have to realize that mentor can take you so far. Their skill set can help you, and their life experience can help you but so far. It can grow you mentally to a certain thing. But I'm giving a case in point. I was talking to my mentor one day.
Yes.
And me and my mentor was the same business, sort of, right? Mm-hmm. And we used to do business. We both used to do business on our own. Yeah. And I used to do business. Cover business transactions with clients, or like I was saying, the cable show circuit. Yeah. And I tried a couple of things, the cable show circuit, that didn't work, but work right from in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And I went to my mentor and I was like, yo, and he did something similar to what I did. And I said, yo, how did you do that and make that work? He looks at me and smiles and he laughs and he goes, it comes to experience, yeah. And I go, huh? Wait, I don't understand. I did exactly what you just technically did, or what you told me to technically do, and it didn't work. It worked, but it didn't work smoothly. Yeah. It didn't work. And he goes, that's because you don't have the experience yet. You don't feel it yet. You don't feel it. You don't know exactly what you're doing. So until you get that under your belt and really feel what you're doing, then it'll work probably better for you. And it was funny as crap, because years later, when I left my mentor and I became a mentor to someone else,
yes,
my protege did the exact same thing. My protege did something, and they came back to me and was like, "How did you make it work?" And I said, "Damn, I'm gonna tell you something my mentor told me. You don't understand it yet. You don't have the footing yet. You don't have the understanding yet. It comes with experience." And it was like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, trust me. When you get the experience under your belt and you do it 50 times and you get the experience under your belt, you'll get it, and it's gonna come second nature to you. And it was like, oh, I'm like, yeah, I have to fumble about that. I have to fumble that too. I have to fumble the crap out of that ball too. Don't worry about it. You'll get it.
Yeah. So what you just said, though, I think I'm still the wisdom part of it is still rearing its ugly head for me, because with what you just said, it's almost like, and this is where I think a mentor would be picking a right mentor. I would imagine the right mentor would know when it's time to loosen the ropes and let you almost I've outgrown you. I'll let you do what you do, or let you find your way at this point. It's almost like, okay, I've taught you everything I need to know, you need to know, or I have to teach you. Now it's for you to kind of lead the way and figure it out, the rest of it for yourself. But from where we were speaking, I don't think you were there yet, because you said you were quite young at the time.
Yes, but you know what? I can honestly say I don't regret walking away.
19 hours.
The time that I walked away.
Yes.
To be honest, sometimes when you at your highest level of experience, right, or success. So, right?
Yes.
Sometimes it's the best time to walk away when you are getting success at it, right?
Yeah.
Or when you guys are on good terms before you technically do something or say something because you're inexperienced in order to learn how to become the person you need to be. See, my thing was at the time that I was learning my experience from my mentor, I was a married guy too at the time.
Yeah.
At 18 years old, I was married, had a wife, had a stepson, and all that stuff, and still trying to learn the stuff that I was trying to learn as not only as a business person.
Yeah.
I was trying to learn what I needed to learn as a husband and as a stepfather, and still work a job in the process, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds crazy as saying that, but it's kind of like, yo, I get what you're telling me. I get what you're explaining to me. I get that, but I'm juggling in a circus, juggling many different balls at the same time, right? Trying to at least juggle many different balls at the same time.
Yeah.
Let me grasp the idea of this ball. I got the rhythm of this particular ball I have in the circus, right? But now it's time for me to learn this other ball and this other ball that I need to learn. And maybe you can, if we can switch gears to learn this part, great. If not, I have to walk away to learn this part of this jug and this ball, right? And let what you taught me process in my brain. I can ask you if you're willing to answer the question later, but I have to see it in my brain first to understand exactly what you've given me, right? If that makes any sense.
It does, but I think where I'm at with it, it's almost like unless you're saying that, okay, we're at that pivotal point where it's almost like at the point of no return, where it's almost like your mentors pretty much taught you everything and you pretty much mastered everything that he's got to give you. It's almost like you're putting yourself in a position where you're about to struggle. Why do you need to struggle to figure things out, as opposed to just
because our paths are different. Like, I do comic books naturally, right?
Yes.
Although I'm an artist naturally, but my mentor isn't a comic book guy. My mentor is an artist, but he's a sign guy, right? And unless I'm going to follow my mentor into signs, like, you know when you see all these signs around on businesses, and unless I'm going to follow him into it and walk away from my comic book path,
yes, I'm
going to have to walk away. Yes, I help you. You helped me in learning the business as some of the business parameters, what I was trying to do in production, right? But I still applied. Like my mentor was more or less the idea set around the parameters of production, like the production idea of what I was trying to get you to do, right? But the business part, I own to stick to figure out and use the production to inside my business.
I think you're going in depth in terms of like, okay, we're getting very specific now, but let's not go.
No.
Let's not go so far.
It goes back to what you said. But it goes back to what you said. You know how you said picking the right mentor. You know how you were saying about picking the right mentor for the right weapon for the right job.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what I was meaning, like in the sense that
are you saying your mentor wasn't he wasn't the correct person for the job? Is that what you're saying?
He was for the specific job I was technically doing at the moment. Like, in the sense that he was an artist and he was a producer. The job that I hired him to do, as far as helping how to do the shows to market the comic book stuff that I'm technically doing right now, he was the right guy to do it.
No,
I
think this is where we're kind of segging way now. We're more speaking about.
No. Hear me out for a second.
Okay.
When you have a mentor, right?
Mhm.
Certain skill set that you need, right?
Yes.
Everything that you are in your path that you can use, you can technically use, you can utilize, right?
Mhm.
Everything your mentor can do, you may not need for what your rest of your path is. And to realize that, okay, what you're doing on your journey, on your path, on that part, that I don't need, because I'm not going down that pathway. So I don't need that, right?
Mm.
This is what I need here. This is the little path thing I need from you, right? That I need to get a handle on here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Once I understand this path the stuff that I need, once I get to a certain place, I can't burden you with what anything else I'm technically doing, because you may not understand the path I'm going down there. I'm going down left to do whatever the heck I gotta go do, right? You gotta go right to go do whatever you're trying to do. In the center of what we both of our paths is where we meet to technically doing what we're trying to technically do, right?
Mm.
Once I get this information, I have to part ways with you and go down my path to lead me down to what I need. You're gonna go your right to do what you're technically doing. Me going left to do what I need to go do is causing me to struggle, because of the idea that maybe I need to technically learn it on my own, or pick up a different mentor who knows about the path I'm going left, right? And you may not understand it, so I can't use you. I can't learn anything from you on the next couple steps.
This is what I'm trying to get at. I'm saying to you that in the sense of like, you're getting very specific in terms of like, okay, what's necessary, go deeper down into the path. But when you say mentor, I was more coming from the idea of like more the life lessons, not necessarily the specifics of that specific demands of your craft or what you're doing. I'm more speaking about
but I'm speaking about both. I'm speaking about both in a sense. You only can give a person, but like, okay, like way older than me, right?
Yes.
Business wise, he can give me experience. Life stuff, he can advise from the outside. He can advise me from the outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
But because of the idea that some of the things he may have been through, I wasn't there to experience it. I only can hear what you're saying and look at what I'm doing in my at the time my marriage at the time, yes. Right? I can look at it and be like, maybe I shouldn't have did that. But at the same time, at the moment that he's not next to me, I'm going to still make those mistakes. I'm still going to make those and all that stuff, right? So some of that stuff I can hear what he's saying, but until to apply it is something else entirely. It's something you got to technically just fumble around with. Is what I was getting at.
I hear what you're saying, but I think again, I'm still getting the idea where it's almost like, yeah, you're independent and you're making all these decisions per se, but I don't think it's so far out of, you know, getting advice from your mentor about some of the things that you're speaking about. And in my opinion, I think there's nothing new under the sun, in the sense where it's almost like history is constantly repeating itself. So I say that to say that I don't think there's anything that your mentor would fail to grasp in terms of like life lessons that you're possibly going to go through. So to kind of discard or not necessarily take on board some of the advice or ask, I think that might be to your own detriment to an extent.
Maybe what you're saying is right, but in the moment, and put it this way, some of the stuff that I went through, like hypothetically in my marriage, right?
Yes.
And to a degree, in certain instances, he was bewildered too and shit. Like, yo, like what the hell, right? Like what the hell, like that, like. So some things he can explain if he has a similar situation, he can explain, and then I will learn from it, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes in the moment, it's kind of like if you've never been through that situation and you're going through it for the first time through the eyes of someone who's going through it at the moment, it's kind of like, wait, there's no advice to be given. You can try to sum up an idea of what you could technically do, but like until you in that situation, it's kind of like, wait, I have to figure it out. Like, wait, I don't understand, and I don't want to be a fool either. Like, so I'm gonna technically walk away and learn from the idea of, okay, let me not react right away. Let me think about, and because I didn't react in the situation, spawned the idea of me writing my first movie. To be honest, the movie that we're talking about right now, the very first draft of the movie project that I shot as a movie project was shot during a difficult when I was married, which I'm no longer married for years, but like the first draft of my script was drafted that night. Was drafted as a script at that time, right?
Yeah.
Which, if I, to be honest, if my mentor would have went through something similar to what I went through at that moment,
yes,
I probably wouldn't have had the movie project. I wouldn't have had the success that I have right now because of it. To be honest, because I would have had it to relate to it as a man, as a guy, right?
Yeah.
And not channel that situation into my art. If that makes any sense.
I understand what you mean, but I think to a degree it's hard to say ifs and buts because things are just not that way. It didn't happen that way. So I can't say, oh man, yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, this is how it's supposed to be. So
no. I'm saying, like, you know how you, okay, look, you know how you say it, okay, you know how you do poetry.
Yes.
Right? And it's said this way. Imagine all of this poetry you written because of situations you was in, right?
Yeah.
And because you're artistic.
Yes.
Imagine having a mentor to tell you something of the experience you went through at that moment, right?
Yes.
Although it would have been great to tell you not to do this and not to do that and not to feel this and not to go through that, right?
Yeah.
But it would have staffed with you as a creative person to a degree. So all of the creative work you technically that situation inspired, those situations inspired, you got your creative art because of the situations you was around and you experienced. If that makes any.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you can,
absolutely, yeah. I get what you're saying. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I don't understand. I do get what you're saying, but it's almost like to make an assumption because things are not one way that it couldn't work out being a different situation. I try not to do that. Yeah, that's for that's for
no. But what you're saying, and I'm not saying that you're wrong. What I'm saying to you is that yes, I'm saying it in a sense. What you're saying is right as well. Like what you're saying is right. If I went to my mentor in the situation,
yeah,
and I could have got his wisdom probably on the situation to handle a certain situation, right? But at the same given can.
No, but this is the thing though. Like you have to remember, like this is it's a discussion, and there is no wrong or right. Do you understand what I mean? I'm just saying, but in this discussion, there is your way, and then there is the way that most likely would be reliable, and probably a higher likelihood of being like, man, this will put you in a better place than just throwing yourself, like throwing a stone. I hope you hit something. Do you understand what I mean? Because it's almost like there are no guarantees, but there are possibly guarantees or certain chance of you getting to what you're looking for, because your mentor's probably seen it before, and this is the person that's guiding you. After all, he's supposed to be the right mentor, and I think that's where I'm trying to come from.
No, but you know what? I get what you're saying, and that's good. That's why I kind of laughed when you said that. I was like, oh yeah, I get what he means. I get what he means. Like, yes, you could have. Anything is possible, to be honest. I could have said anything is possible. But again, that goes to the idea of growing pains. You know, like sometimes you don't realize stuff until you're out of it, until you're a miles away from the situation. Yes. And you reflect on it later, and you like, damn, I probably could have went through that quick. Like you're like a conscience, like, yo, shit, you know, you could have did that better because you could have looked at it in the situation at the moment and got through it easier.
Yes.
But it's kind of like, yo, I did it. I didn't see it that way. I seen it like, okay, well, this is the situation I'm in. This is what needs to happen, and I need this situation to be handled and situation done. And now I away, and now looking back at it, it's kind of like, oh yeah, I probably could have did that, but out of this whole situation, I got reconsidered a career sort of out of it, because I learned it from a business standpoint and a personal guide, in a personal guide standpoint, if that makes any sense. Sometimes I think it's a
Let me put it like this. You know what? Nothing beats a W, right? Nothing beats a win. Mm-hmm. As you know, winning covers up everything. If you win, it's almost like, no harm done. But if you don't, that's when things, you know, it's almost like, oh man, that's when you have regrets. And that's when it's almost like, that's when history, you know, you start to, it becomes so much more relevant. And so this is where I'm kind of taking it. But at the same time, you did it your way, and it's fortunate that it worked out. But you know, there's two ways at play here, and I'm just saying what's reliable, and you know, there's the other way, which is. But
you know what? Me and my mentor recently, we talked about it then, and we talked about it recently, right? About he said that same thing later. It was like, oh, you should have stayed. But I'm like, well, to be honest, I felt suffocated at the moment that I left, and it kind of frustrated and suffocated at the time I left. And like I said, you know how when you're on an upward swing,
yes,
you would rather walk away on your upward swing, so you know that way you won't technically say something, do something, or mess up all the positive stuff that you technically created. Mm-hmm. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
If that makes any sense, kind of like, yo, I'd rather technically walk away than kill a potential career that this can see. Sometimes, to be honest, I didn't look at it initially as a full-time career.
Yes.
Everything that I technically did up until now that you try to see as one major piece, I did it in parts and put together later as a what you consider my body of work itself, right? And sometimes, you know, to learn those different pieces.
Yes.
Some pieces, again, I learned being my mentor, and the other pieces I had to grow on my own. And I didn't have another mentor to jump to and say, hey, how did you do that piece? I don't understand this piece. So remember when I said about going to reading books,
yes,
going to listen to music, going to study other stuff, other stuff people who's done stuff similar to it, but not realistically studying, talking to an actual person go and study some other stuff and be like, oh, I think I kind of halfway understand how to do that, kind of. And going and mess it up, like, I got it now. I got how to do that now.
Yeah.
But that's just me being an artistic guy. Like, yo, I have to go mess it all up. Like, trial by fire.
I understand. As I said, there is no wrong or right to this conversation. But it was great to hear your point. Unfortunately, I'm running low on time, sir. But I'll give you the last word. Is there anything you want to mention before we go?
Oh no, you know what? To be honest, I'm digging this conversation. If anybody out there of your fan base want to contact me or Warzone Comics, you guys can do it by email. It's warzonecomicswzc@hotmail.com. The website is warzonecomicswzc.com, and we can be reached on all social media pages under Warzone Comics.
Absolutely, sir. There you have it. And I'll definitely leave a link with so they can go out and find your website and hopefully, check out what you have out there, because you're a talented person.
Let me know when you're releasing it, and send me when you release the show. Just let me know and send me a link to Podmatch.
Absolutely. I'll try and find you. You have YouTube as well, I would imagine.
Everything is under Warzone Comics.
Okay. All right, no worries. I'll send the link, but I'll definitely reach out to you on Podmatch. And
but I appreciate, you know what? I definitely appreciate this different point of view.
But
I definitely appreciate it, because we need to do this again, because you made me think about a lot of stuff and made me appreciate the idea of this journey and the technical parts of the journey versus just the idea of the final product. So I appreciate it very much.
Well, I appreciate you. Thanks so much for giving me some of your time. And it was a great discussion. I really enjoyed us just having a bit of jousting and just conversing on such a high level about life, especially, and art, intertwined. So thanks so much for spending some time with me. And definitely do this again sometime soon. But again,
okay, thank you.
Take care. Until next time.